Why storytelling is the only way to survive complexity. What if the problem is not complexity? What if the real problem is that nothing means anything anymore? Because today, we don't lack information. We lack connection between things. And that's exactly what storytelling does. Because storytelling is not about simplifying reality, it's about making it livable. Reality today is fragmented. Meetings, deadlines, data, notifications. Everything moves, but nothing connects. And when nothing connects, nothing means anything. Think about this. You're working on a project. Deadlines shift. Tasks pile up. Problems appear. If you look at each event separately, it feels like chaos. But now imagine this. Instead of saying, "We're late," you say, "We're building something that didn't exist before, and this is the phase where everything resists." Same reality, different story. Suddenly, the delay is no longer a failure. It becomes part of a trajectory. Look at companies like Tesla in their early years. Production delays, financial pressure, near collapse. Without story leads to dysfunction. With story leads to, we are reinventing an industry. And meaning appears when events stop being isolated and start belonging to the same path. But here's the trap. Connecting things to something bigger is still not enough, because something can be big and still feel empty. Let's take a simple example. A company announces a reorganization. Official message: we are optimizing efficiency. But what do people feel? Am I still needed? Do I still belong? Who am I in this new structure? This is where story goes deeper. Not just what is happening, but what it means for us. When Steve Jobs returned to Apple, he didn't say, "We need better processes." He said, "We are here to challenge the status quo." Same company, different depth. A product became a symbol. A company became an identity. Meaning appears when events connect to values, fears, identity. But there is something even more powerful, something hidden inside every story. Let me give you two situations. A manager says, "We are changing strategy." No explanation, no context. What happens? Confusion, resistance. Now imagine this. We realized our current model will not sustain us in 2 years. We tested alternatives. We failed twice, but we found a path that can work. Now you see the why and the how. And suddenly, people don't just hear the decision, they understand the journey. This is what leaders like Nelson Mandela did. After years in prison, he didn't just impose reconciliation. He explained why revenge would destroy the nation, how unity could rebuild it. Meaning is not in events. It is in the intentions and transformations behind them. And this is why people don't resist complexity. They resist meaningless complexity. Imagine you're learning something new. At first, everything feels confusing. But then someone tells you, "Here's how this evolves step by step." Suddenly, you don't understand everything, but you know where you're going. Think of a startup team. Uncertainty everywhere, no guarantees. Without story, this is unstable. With story, we are exploring, and each step brings us closer. Story doesn't remove uncertainty, it gives you a way to move through it. Now imagine a large organization, hundreds of people, different roles, different perspectives. Each one sees only a fragment. Without story, misalignment, silos, confusion. With story, we are all contributing to the same transformation. This is what companies like Airbnb did. They didn't just say, "We rent spaces." They said, "We help people belong anywhere." And suddenly, everyone understood not just what they do, but why it matters. And at the deepest level, story does something even more powerful. Because sometimes, complexity is not just difficult, it hurts. Effort, doubt, failure. Think of someone training for years, facing setbacks again and again. Without story, it's pointless. With story, this is part of who I'm becoming. This is what Viktor Frankl understood. Meaning doesn't remove suffering. It makes it bearable. Now, before you leave, pause for a moment. Think about one situation in your life that feels complex, unclear, heavy, fragmented. And ask yourself, what are the events I see? And what is the story I am missing? Because maybe the problem is not the complexity. It's the absence of meaning, connecting it. And once you see the story, you can finally move.